Section 4, which has been all about playing a hand. This is lesson number 2, and I'm going to teach you guys how to play your hands on the flops. So let's go ahead and get started. So just to give you guys an overview to start with, there's no set of rules or guidelines for playing hands when it comes to the flop. But this section will teach you the ways to determine the strength of your hands and to form the appropriate set of moves or the action to help you make the right moves at the table. So that's what the goal of this section is really going to be. So playing weak hands on the flop. So first, before we can really discuss how to play these weak hands, we've got to identify what is a weak hand. So if your hand matches any of these criteria, a no pair or no draws, then your next moves are very simple. Do not bet or raise. Do not call bets or raises. Forget about trying to bluff or make any fancy plays. Fold unless you can see the next card for free. So your only two options are either checking or folding when you have a hand like this. And it's really as simple as that. There's no hero plays or hero things that you need to be really doing in this situation. It's very simple. So mediocre hands on the flop. So mediocre hands can be categorized in two sections. It can be a low end and a high end. So I'll start with the low end of mediocre hands. That would be something like a middle pair. So if the flop is like 5, 7, 9 and you have a pair of sevens, that's considered the middle pair. A low flush draw, so if you got like a 2, 4 diamonds and there's 2 diamonds on the flop or something like that, that'll be considered a flush draw. Low straight draw, so if there's a straight draw and you have the low end of the straight cards, that could be considered a low end mediocre hand. And even a top pair with a weak kicker, so let's say the flop is 7, king, jack, and you have king, deuce. That's still considered a low end hand even though you do have the top pair. Now some of the high end hands would be a top pair with a good kicker, so in the same situation if you had king, queen, or king ace, that's a great hand. That's a high-end mediocre hand because you've got the top pair with a good kicker. Strong flush draws, strong straight draws. If you have the bottom two pairs, so let's say on the example of 2 jack king, you've got jack deuce. That's the bottom two pair. Or if you have like a low 3 of a kind where it's like 2 jack king, you've got pocket twos. That's considered a high-end mediocre hand. So in regards to playing mediocre hands on the flop, so low-end hands, you really want to be cautious and you want to play it just like as if you didn't hit anything. Because you aren't tied to these hands, and if you do get a card for free, that's fantastic. If not, just be happy to be able to fold to any action. So low-hand hands are almost just like the weak hands. You pretend like you didn't hit anything. With high-end hands, now this is when you must consider things such as stack sizes, position, and how your opponents may have flopped. If you feel that you have good position and you feel that you might be able to win money from this hand, this might be a time to either call a bet or even raise yourself and can kind of continue playing on. So to categorize some strong hands on the flop for you. So strong hands on the flop would be like top two pairs. So if the flop is like 2 king jack and you've got king jack, that's the top two pair. A set is always a very strong hand as well on the flop. High 3 of a kind. So if you've got like, if the flop was like jack, jack, 7, you've got jack, queen or something, that's considered a high 3 of a kind. If you hit a straight or a flush, obviously those are very strong hands on the flop, and obviously a full house is a great hand to have on the flop as well. So in regards to playing strong hands on the flop, so you really don't need to build up pot. You do not build up the big pots by checking or calling only, so it really requires you to raise and be aggressive. So you need to bet and raise to build up the pots so that your opponents have to put in as much money as you really want them to into the pot, and you kind of control the action. So don't worry about your opponents folding if you bet. That's a lot better than losing. Or getting just going to the river and showing up a monster hand but not collecting any money out of it. So the only time you should really slow play is if you have the nuts, which is basically referring to the best possible hands, or the deck is crippled, meaning that nothing else can really beat you and you have a guarantee of that. Then at that point is when you can really slow play and you have a lot of options. But other than that, you should be very aggressive and constantly betting, and that's how you make money in poker, is by betting, not by sitting around checking, folding, and waiting for someone else to take action on your behalf. But that's it for this section, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.